Hi guys, I just wanted to do a quick unpacking of my solo camping trip that I just went on, just to show you kind of what's in my pack and yeah, what I bring with myself on a 1 or 2 or even a 3-day backpacking trip. So just to unpack, as you can see, still some sunscreen on there, very important. Always reapply right here. I was out there for the last couple days, so my Deuter, it's a 28. Or 24, excuse me, Deuter 24. This is the size of my pack right here, and I'm just going to slowly clean the light t-shirt. This is something that I got at a thrift store. A lot of the stuff that you'll see that I bring with me is from the thrift store. I think it's really important that we reuse and upcycle our gear. It's also a lot less expensive, but also it just reduces your carbon footprint. Something to think about. You know, we're out there in nature, and we wanna respect nature as much as possible. And I think it's a little silly to go out and spend, you know, $600-700 on a bunch of new gear when you can just simply reuse gear that somebody else didn't like, or that's a couple years old that you can modify to your liking. Especially if you got great knowledge of the outdoors, you know, really top quality gear. You know, isn't going to change the experience that much. So the first thing that I've got right here is bandana. Again, just cheap bandana. You get this for 99 cents, but something that I always keep on me, not just because of the coronavirus, although that is nice when you're passing people on the trail, but when you're hanging onto a hot pot, you got to tie your hair back. You know, multitude of reasons. For me, a lot of protection from the sun, wiping off sweat, that kind of thing. Next, with what I'm wearing is just a light, cheap hat that I bought from the Goodwill for $1 or $2. You know, with a hat, especially something like this, for me, lightness is really important. You could get something that's super high quality, but for the most part, it's going to be on your head. So it's not going to be snagging on trees, you're not going to be rubbing it on rocks. And this particular one just folds up really nice and small if I don't want to wear it, and I can shove it into a bag. So my Sawyer straw filtration system, don't ever leave home without it. This is a lifesaver. When I was first getting into backpacking, I was carrying out large amounts of water, thinking that that was the most efficient way of doing it. This thing will save you so much in terms of weight. I generally just bring out the one as well as the Sawyer straw, and then I usually just have a completed full Camelback with me that I just, you know, on my hike up, and then I'll sort of refill. I have seen backpackers, and I have gone out a couple of times with multiple sleeves or with a Fuji water bottle that actually fits on top of this, but definitely highly recommend it. Nice and lightweight, and you get to carry your water with you as you go. Excuse me, so you don't have to carry your water with you as you go. The top of my pack, I also have my nice little Petzl headlamp. I purchased this because of the fact that it is so small. I mean, ridiculously small, this particular brand. This is one of the few things that I did buy brand new. I got it on the REI website. This is probably about a $30 item, but as you can see, look at how small it is, how compact it is, how light it is. This thing can fit in your pocket. Some of them do have a protective piece on top to make sure that it doesn't turn off or turn on. I just simply turn the center battery, just get into a habit of it, and that just becomes part of what I'm doing. Little earplugs right here. When I'm sleeping out underneath the stars, I sleep very well, but sometimes the creaks and moans, the first night that you're out there, takes a little while to get used to. Just these are very small, very compact. Boom, pop these in there. I've found that this works wonders, and sometimes just even a little bit of this over my face just gives you this sense of aloneness. And I always bring something different on the trail than usually what I'm reading in my home, because it's small and lightweight, and this is something that, you know, I can read over the course of a 3 or 4 day period. You know, generally when I get in my tent anyways, I'm tired, or I'm sitting by a fire, or, you know, doing something else, so I'm not like crushing through a book. At the end of the day, you got to evaluate what you are looking to do, but I always have a trail book of some kind. Same thing with my notebook, so I like to write. This is just a simple notebook that was a leather-bound notebook, and I ripped out, as you can see, a lot of the pages. So this is just maybe 15 pages right here, front to back. So again, reducing the weight. What I always have in my back pocket, a little flask of whiskey. You know, obviously metal, probably not the lightest thing that you can carry. In the past, I do have some squeeze bottles, kind of like this size, maybe a little bit smaller, that I have used as opposed to a flask. But for 1 or 2 days, I throw it in my back pocket. It doesn't actually add any weight to my backpack, and this is so nice when you are cold when you are sitting by a fire, or if you are about to go to bed and you want a little drag or two on this thing, your legs hurt, your muscles hurt a little bit, this will put you right to sleep. So a little bit of whiskey, enough to get you going. We've got our rain gear. Now, some people just use like a poncho for rain gear. This is not actually a like traditional rain gear that you'd buy at REI. This was something that I bought in Spain at Decathlon. It's actually just a windbreaker, but it folds up very, very small. The reason why I like to bring the windbreaker as opposed to actual legitimate rain gear is the type of hiking that I'm doing right now. If it's a downpour, I'm gonna pull up shop somewhere underneath a tree. I'm gonna get out my tarp. I'm not walking in gale force winds, and I don't have any place to be. Now if I was walking the Appalachian Trail or the Pacific Crest Trail or someplace where I needed to be to my next destination point, I'd be a little bit more apt to bring that. But something like this is really nice because it cuts the wind. And if it's a drizzle, this will definitely keep it off. And it's small, it's lightweight, it's pretty compact, and it's nice and bright. We are in hunting season, and I actually saw a couple hunters as I was walking back out this morning. So, being seen isn't necessarily a bad thing. And again, cutting the wind. So this is my top layer. I've got this nice little Loki hat that turns into a neck gaiter that also serves as a like a balaclava that goes over your full face mask. Again, maybe a little bit excessive. Wasn't necessarily doing any winter camping, but I like having this on. I definitely wore the hat last night. So, a knitted wool cap would work out for anybody who just wants to do it on the cheap or do it on the easy. But this is fantastic in my opinion. Got it for like $10 at the farmers markets. Speaking of versatility, next thing in here is my leather gloves, my leather work gloves. Some people might go out and spend a lot of money on sort of waterproof gloves, or they want to get, big ski gloves or something like that. In actuality, unless you're doing some deep weather, deep winter camping, I'm not getting my hands in the snow. But what I'm really looking for is something that I can snap a twig with, that I can climb a tree with without getting slivers in my hands. That is very multifaceted, that if I'm picking up something hot out of a fire, if I'm poking that fire, if I'm moving a rock because it's in the way of my tent or whatever it is, I like to have gloves. And leather is really nice because it's nice and warm. So I just bring these because they're nice and warm, and I'll keep my hands warm while I'm doing work around the camp. And generally, they're pretty waterproof enough for my purposes. Past, I bought expensive gloves, and this is a way, way better solution. All right, moving my way down. I'm a huge proponent of thrift stores. As I said before, everything that you need out in the wilderness, in my opinion, a lot of the stuff can be found in a thrift store as long as you know what you're looking for. So as you can see, I said before, this was from a half marathon. This particular shirt right here. You'll find this kind of stuff all the time. A lot of people do run half marathons. They give away sort of all sorts of swag. This is a long sleeve shirt from one that I actually did. But again, same material. It's this wicking material. About it is that it's lightweight, it's breathable, it's not cotton, and it's going to, if it does get wet, it's going to dry very quickly, and that it's relatively inexpensive, and elastic is extremely durable. I mean, elastic is extremely durable. Now be careful that they don't, the elastic isn't a cotton blend, because cotton tends to soak up moisture and doesn't dry as quickly. But something like this was, I think it was like, this is a 99-cent shirt. This is something that I happen to have from a run that I did. So it doesn't need to be expensive, off the rack, REI, Patagonia, top of the line stuff. This is again another thrift store find, but as you notice, a lot of layers. So I've got a short sleeve shirt, I've got a long sleeve shirt of the same material. Now I've got, this happens to be a smart wool. Smart wool is a great brand. Wool is amazing because it keeps insulation in, and wool as a natural fiber will dry very quickly compared to other natural fibers. So this is excellent, and being nice and thin as this one is, it packs up nice and small. The reason why I have a smart wool, as I said before, is I'm a thrift store guy, and look at right here. So I walked up to the front counter and I said, hey, this is on the rack for $2. Can you guys cut it in half? This is a 99-cent smart wool sweater right here, but it is wool. So make sure that this is not, you do not want this to be flannel, you don't want this to be cotton, you do not want this to be anything that is going to absorb moisture. Do some research online to make sure that you're getting the right type of material. At the end of the day, the material is the most important thing. The brand is less important than, because I was going to be, because it's a little bit earlier in the season, I decided to bring my Rab coat with me. Again, this is a down hydrophobic down, they call it. This is probably from about 5 years ago. Still perfectly fine. I just try not to store this, you know, in my closet like this. So like leaving it hung up all the time has helped the material to stay longer. But you know, you'll see these now that these are so fashionable, so in vogue. You should be able to find these anywhere. You know, fixing it over time, you know, wears and tears and things like that. But this is my top layer. So last night I was wearing all of these layers with this one on top. And this acted as essentially like a giant ski jacket. Anytime as I'm hiking, you can pull it off. Boom, you got to regulate your body temperature. Make sure that you're not sweating, because when you stop, that sweat is then going to make you freeze, make you cold. I love to bring a camp pillow. Some people try to do without it. I cannot get a good night's sleep without a camp pillow, and so I would highly recommend something simple like this. Happens to be a Quechua brand. Bought this in Decathlon, which is over in Europe. I loved their stuff over there. It was very inexpensive when we were in Spain and when we were in France and when we were in, you know, a couple different places that we got to visit. So very inexpensive and folds up nice and flat. Something like this you can wrap around, you know, you can wrap around your clothing, you can wrap around your tent. I mean, it takes up no space. Nice material. I don't like the shiny stuff because then it gets all sticky. This has got, as you can see, like a little featheriness to it. And again, I think this was like 10 or 12 bucks at Decathlon. I would highly recommend bringing a camp pillow because it makes all the difference when you get a good night's sleep. So if you need one, do it. My tent stakes. So I pack my tent stakes and my actual tent top separate, just because it happens to be what fits into my bag properly. So I bring just enough stakes. I've got my MSR stakes in here. This particular brand is it's an Alps mountaineering brand. We bought this Lynx. It's a single person tent. I actually found it at a thrift store. Again, I know I keep harping on this, but it was $8. It's probably a $200 tent. Not that everybody can be so lucky, but just be on the lookout. A lot of people, for some reason, buy stuff and they get rid of it or whatever happens. And you know, I wouldn't say, you know, don't go out to Walmart and buy a $20 tent because it's not going to be the same quality. But you know, Steep and Sheep is a great one. Craigslist is a great one. I've got a lot of good stuff on Craigslist. Gear Trade. You know, all these things, these secondhand stores, what you want to look for is stuff that's 5 or 6 years old. That's quality stuff that you can get at a bargain basement deal, and then you can modify it to your liking. If you've got to cut off some straps because you want to reduce weight, if you've got to, you know, add one piece or replace one piece, it's gonna be a lot cheaper than buying something that is, you know, $200 or $300. So this